Oh, welcome to the special edition of extension of Family Hour and return to the garden, all mixed together. And our previous program, which was on Friday night, seems like that was about a year ago, went on for some time about what was being stated in YAHOWAH, Isaiah 56 and 57, knowing that in the 57th chapter, we're going to have absolute affirmation that the Shabuah harvest is of souls, and that a number of people are going to disappear from the earth at that time, and no one's going to be able to know their whereabouts. And so it's a fascinating affirmation of that harvest, but it's what is said before it and after it that is so important to our overall education that I did want to start at the beginning with the 56th chapter of YAHOWAH. And I think we'd made it to the 4th verse at the end of our program last night or on Friday night. But on this program, we are going to take a bit of a detour. And hello, Kevin. Good to see you there, Captain Kirk and JB. Always nice to see all of you. You look like you're down in my spa, in my rainbow studio there, Kevin. You do make it all around, man. You're just a couple of hours ago, if that, you were in my Facebook blog. And now you're here in my rainbow studio. You're a man all about town. So we're going to actually start. Yeah, that's right. So we're going to start with a song. It's one of the more recent songs that Leah has written. They tell a great story. This is Dodi, which means my beloved. It is also Dode's name. So Dode, meaning beloved, and Dodi would mean my beloved. And so it is a song that Leah wrote to her regarding her great love for our returning King and our Savior, the very Son of God and Messiah, Dode David. Well, she says that it does it because the name is based upon a word meaning my beloved. That as my wife, she gets to have a double meaning on the word, and evidently I'm included in this. So this is a brand new song. I have not had the opportunity to see it at this point, so we're going to play it together and hear it together for the first time. So this is Dodi. Anything else you'd like to say about it, Miss Leah?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, here we go.
Gather round the mikra, hearing Yada's call, where Zion's melody sways and where errant lovers fall. The tree of knowledge points the way to the notes of truth, melody of his integrity, a place where night meets day. Put your feet to dance, swaying to the sun's lustrous light, dancing past the shadows in the darkened embrace of night. Doubt's love sings in my mind, a sweetness so kind. Yada reflects the light, the two made one. Oh, doubt, the son of Father's gift, your fire blazes bright. Yada as the moon, reflecting your light. We dance 7 steps to romance, and her redemption's begun. The bloody red man brings her home by placing his blood upon the ground. From darkness to dawn, the dance unfolds, 7 steps closer to my love. The Mikra reveals what the heart beholds. The tree of knowledge Yada points the way, guides the mind and soul closer to the garden where we were once loved. Tao, the eternal witness of the dawn. Yada, the moonlight when the stars are gone. Together they shine, a covenant true, a love that redeems, made for me and you. Seven steps closer, a dance in the flame, a son's embrace, a zik around in hand. In Yahowah's name, the man of Edom answered the call, the ransom's won, the deed is done.
Great lyrics, great song, great visuals. Hello there, Dr. Jeff. I love the wedding dress, not on you, but on the at the conclusion of the song, a wedding dress made out of stars. That looks appropriate for our king. There are maybe 50 things to explain in that song. So I think what we'll do is later this week, we'll play the song again, and I'll take some notes so I can highlight everything that we ought to be paying attention to. I'll introduce it with those thoughts, let it play, and let people process what it's going on and the like. But there are things in it that are really powerful. You see the eclipses, you see the sun, you see the moon. In Bereshith, Genesis 1, the opening chapter of the Torah, God introduces the relationship that the two of us have, Dode and myself. He is the greater luminary of the fourth day of creation, and there is a lesser luminary that collectively they serve as the signs for the Moedim, which are these restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony that represent Pesach, Matzah, B'Kodem, Shavuot, Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah. And those 7 feasts of Yahweh, the 7 annual meetings where we get to spend time with our God. We're invited to approach his company. The first 3 were fulfilled by Dode, which makes him the luminary. And it's the lesser luminary's responsibility to reflect that brilliance of what he has done. And then the next 2 are fulfilled by the lesser luminary. That'd be Shavuot and Teruah. They're both harvests. And then Dode returns with Yahweh on Kippurim, and he is king of forevermore during Sukkah. So the 7 steps that she speaks of throughout that song, that happens to be the 7 Moed Mikra of what these 2 men represent and fulfill. And the Zikaron that is mentioned, that's all things pertaining to the most memorable of men. And that's the way God presents these fellows. It's also a reference to trees in the presentation Dode is the tree of lives as presented in Bereshith, Genesis 2. And Yada is the tree of knowledge. And these themes run throughout the story. She also showed the three animals, and they are also essential to God's story. Dode is the ram. He is the Passover lamb. He is the leader of the flock of Yisrael. And he is supported by a goat and a bull. And the goat and the bull come together, particularly in the last days, to make it possible for us to celebrate the return of our King. So that's the short version of it. I probably missed about 90%. What did I miss, Kevin, that's still in there?
Oh, goodness. You got the bull and the ram and the goat. I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking that we needed less baby turtles and more dancing girls, but that's not necessarily germane to the conversation. So.
Now, I was actually fond of the turtles. We live here on a beach, and we have the leatherback turtles that come up on our local beach just a couple hundred yards, if that, from here. This is a really important nesting beach that we sit right above. And so I'm really fond of the turtles going back into sea. But, I've never been against dancing girls either. And particularly love that Leah was a fashion stylist, and her prior life had her own fashion line. Femme Fatale was her clothing line. And so being able to make the wedding gown for Dode's bride is something she'll insist on doing. And if you can make one out of stars, which she did in that, I think you probably deserve the job, don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful presentation all the way through. What I don't know is what horses have to do with Israel or Dode. But I'm sure that if we asked Israel or asked Leah, she would tell us that horses were invented by Jews. we're laughing because my wife for years always introduced herself. Hello, I'm Jewish. My name is Leah. And no matter what we're eating or enjoying, she will always ask, the so-and-sos didn't invent that. And right. Of course they did. It was invented by Jews. And she said, that's right. So I've learned to give the right answer.
Sounds Jewish. That must be Jewish, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you've had 4 days without any treatments there, Captain Kirk. You must be good as a fiddle.
I feel good.
Oh man, you're up and going strong, huh?
Coffee and a Danish this morning. Dog.
Well, I'm glad we talked about you at the end of our last program. You were a marvelous exemplar of what it's like to get up no matter what life brings your way. You still manage to find a smile, and we can poke fun at you, and you're the first one to laugh.
This is the most fun thing I ever did in my life, and I did a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, that's my.
When I met you, it's been fun since. I mean, I even wrote something about it last night.
Yeah, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And the lucky thing that you have is a wife that supports you.
Sylvia, yes, indeed.
Yeah, which makes a huge difference. As do you, JB. You're still back in the mountains. Good to see you. Got the hair down today. Not normally that way. You're looking very sharp.
Yeah, it's a relaxed kind of day.
Yeah. And Dr. Jeff, it looks like you are in the some small room off the ER. Is that correct?
That is correct. I am waiting for the next shoe to fall off. I'm sitting on about 20 patients, several of whom are unstable. So I will do my best to participate, but I may have to run.
Given the choice between your contributions, which are stellar, you have the most interesting way with words of any of us, and we do enjoy your contributions. But if it is prolonging a life, I think that works as a good excuse. I'd count that as a good excuse.
Okay.
I don't know about Kirk's treatments and feeling like death, but saving life, we're going to give you a pass.
Yeah. Well, as I like to say, transiently for me, but eternally for you by the mission that you've been assigned.
Yeah, we do have the protocol here of being able to deliver eternal life. It's surprising that there's so few takers, but we're going to continue to talk about it and what Yah has to say about it, because it is free for the taking. He does have some rules attached to it. There's some 5 rules, and he has a specific path that you're going to have to learn about and accept for it to work out. But that is indeed what God has in store for us. I can even see that we have over here 2 co-hosts, the Wookiee and Kara. You can tell Wookiee is not pleased that Kara has got his chew stick. So we'll
She look happy.
Well,
though.
They're even in the same couch. Can he get any further away from her?
Yeah. Well, he got scolded this morning because he was a little rough on his approach to her, and so he's been pouting ever since. He got his male ego was bruised this morning when I didn't like the way that he asserted his dominance over Kara, who I can assure you, while cute, can be an enormous pest, and Kara has a tendency to bite Wookiee's ears. And after a while, Wookiee says, okay, that's enough. And she is ravenous, so she will steal his food. And she eats like 4 times what he eats. And still she manages to steal his food. I used to put Wookiee's food up so that he would have to jump up, whether put it on a bed or a couch. And Asher is not very agile. So long as it's not on the floor, Asher is not going to steal it. But if it's on the floor, Asher will steal anything. And so I put it up, but this one now is just like Wookiee. She has wings and she flies, and so she eats what's hers. She eats what's Wookiee's. All right, so we're going to begin here with Yeshaya 56:1 again. I just want to read our way back through the 4th verse. This is going to be a place where God's going to describe who he has chosen to work with, what time he is talking about, how he's going to go about enabling the events of the next 7.5 years. And then he will detail his animosity towards a group of people that he is particularly miffed about because of an insider revolt where they have attempted to dismantle all God has sought to achieve. And I've been doing this for 24 years. I've never come across anything even remotely as condescending as God is towards them. So we'll share that because I don't want anybody lured into this thinking that the outcome might be favorable, which is what they're spewing when God's already made his decision and it's over. So this is what YAHOWAH, and I just, every time I read this, there's 2 things I want to say emphatically. You will never find anywhere in the Christian New Testament, in the Talmud or the Quran, those words. This is what YAHOWAH. This is what YAHOWAH says, is how this reads. Never once is there any place in the Christian New Testament, in the Zohar and the Talmud or in the Quran, that line. This is what YAHOWAH says. And if that doesn't exist, then I can tell you that there is a 0% possibility that the writer is speaking for YAHOWAH. None. I have a lot of words written, written a lot of books. My books are typically quite long. I mean, here's the last one's 825 pages. It is everything you could ever want to know about the last days, called Et Sarah, Last Days. And in this book, everything I have to say is derived from Yahweh's testimony. We begin with Yahweh's testimony, and then from there we talk about what God had to say. And so you can do that all day long. You can convey Yahweh's words accurately and completely, share insights that can be derived from them, explain to folks why you rendered the testimony this way, and explain what that means, how it applies to their lives. You're all good to go. But if you use a but and have it like the Christian New Testament, but I, Paul, say, you're done. It's and you'll notice too that when speaking like this, this was a contemporaneous arrangement where God spoke to Yeshayah. He wrote it down while he was speaking. This is not like the Christian New Testament or the Talmud. The Christian New Testament was scribbled down almost a century after the fact. And sorry, you're going to get maybe one word in 100 accurate after that much time. Or the Talmud, which was
1800.
yeah, 2,000 years delayed. Yeah, so this is contemporaneous. It's a very different approach. What we're going to be listening to all the way through now is not Yeshayah's testimony, a brilliant man. Probably he had to filter some of this because that's the way God likes to work, but these are God's words. This is Yahweh speaking. So this is what Yahweh says. You should choose to be observant, carefully considering and closely considering the means to exercise good judgment and justly resolve disputes, making good decisions. Then choose to engage so that you act upon that which is correct and vindicating, because my deliverance and resulting salvation are approaching, and they are close, imminent, and personal. The reason we went back to this is because it gives God's principal advice, his instructions, and it sets the timing. So what he says is it's essential if you're going to have a relationship with Yahweh that you are A, going to know his name, B, that you're going to be shamar, observant, closely examining and carefully considering all he has to say. 3, you are going to be judgmental. And what that means is that you're going to think this through and you're going to exercise good judgment regarding what God had to say. 4, then you're going to act. No deadbeats, no entitlements. You need to respond and make a contribution. That is absolutely essential. Number 5, what you're responding to after you are observant, after you know Yahweh's name, after you've exercised good judgment, and after you have responded, you're responding to that which is sadak. In this case, it's sadaka, which is right, correct, vindicating, appropriate, and true, verifiable. Because God says, my deliverance and resulting salvation, Yahshua, Ani, are approaching. They are close, imminent, and personal. So God has not done that yet. Now, he did work through his beloved son, Dod, to deliver Pesach, Matzah, and Bakurim, which provide eternal life, perfection of our souls, and adoption into the covenant family. But it was through his son that was delivered. Yahweh himself saying, I'm going to deliver this result. That has not occurred yet, but it will occur within the next 7.5 years. And he says it's approaching and it's imminent and personal. This also means that guess who isn't delivering salvation? Jesus.
Jesus.
So if you're fixated on Jesus, you have an imaginary savior. You might as well be counting on the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, yeah.
Therefore, the Sadaka Ani, the one who is correct about me and vindicates with me, will come to pursue the harvest, will be included and returned, then remain, so as to be revealed and made known. Galah. Yeshayah 56:1. This is one of upwards of 1,000 references to this particular role. It is one of scores of titles that Yahweh has bequeathed this individual through whom he has chosen to work at this time. Sadaka Ani. So Sadak means, again, one who is right and who is correct, who is capable of acquitting and vindicating when associated with Yahweh. God is saying he's going to come. He's going to pursue the harvest. He's going to be included in that harvest, and he's going to return. Then he's going to remain. And he is going to be made known and revealed at this time. God says this in every possible way, beginning early in the Torah and running all the way through the last of the prophets. So it's It's one of the many, many prophecies that if you're going to engage and enjoy a relationship with Yahweh, you need to process. You need to come to understand, appreciate, accept. God does not work alone. He chooses the people he's going to work with, and he has made his choice, and we are well into this process. Blessed by the benefits of the relationship, joyous and productive by showing the proper way, is this person. He's a mortal man who acts upon all of this and engages in this with unfolding implications over time. Because this Son of Man is a lone individual, and he will be exceptionally firm and resolute in this, empowered and strengthened, such that he prevails, restoring through his conviction and resolve with regard to this. By closely examining and carefully considering this Shabbat as the promise of 7, thereby avoiding defiling and profaning it or making it common, he is being observant, careful, attentive, and aware. So his hands, and especially that which he influences, will be kept from acting upon or engaging in anything unjust, immoral, or irrational, troublesome, or distressful. YAHOWAH, Isaiah 56:2. Well, this is a fire hose of information. It's every time we're dealing with YAHOWAH, you better have your eyes completely open, your mind ready to process a lot of data, because he's going to give you an enormous amount of information. The first word here is essential. It is asher. It's one of the most important words in the Hebrew language. First word I translated, first word that Dode spoke as our King and Messiah. First word of the first statement of the first Mizmor Psalm. And it defines our mission, which is to reveal and demonstrate the steps to walk to get the most out of life and to reveal the benefits of this relationship that God is offering. So God is saying that this individual that I'm going to be working with, who is the correct one, who I am delivering at this time, just prior to providing salvation and deliverance, that this individual is a mortal man. So guess who this cannot be?
No,
It can't be
Jesus.
gospel Jesus, because they turned gospel Jesus into a God. And this says, no, I want to work through a mortal man. Now, men cannot be God, and God cannot be a man. But God can work through men, and he does. And he made that abundantly clear in the second book of the Torah and in the fifth book of the Torah, where when Israel said, we want you to go away and shut up, and we don't want to hear from you or see you again, God said, no problem with that. And from that point on, he communicated through men of his choice. And that is what he's saying he's going to do here. So he is a mortal man. He is an Enosh. And this person that he has chosen is going to act upon and engage in the means that God's going to use to save and deliver and to be right. And it's going to do so with unfolding consequences over time, which means he's going to work at it. This is not going to be given to him. And that's an insight that is also important for two reasons. One is that the reason that Adam failed in the garden is he was a deadbeat. He thought he was entitled, and he didn't make a contribution. God's trying to prove that humans can contribute to this relationship and offer something of value. And so those that God works through, he wants to work to show that we can and will work with him and make a contribution. The second reason is that the people that he's going to scold throughout the 57th chapter have made the claim that you can't speak for God and ever be wrong. And, I've rewritten some of these books 10 times because along the way I learned something new, and I want to correct what I have said, and I'll go back and make a correction, and we'll be wiser for it, and we'll move on. That is what God wants. And he wants us to work at it and be disciplined at it. That was the big issue with Adam. Adam made a mistake, and rather than learning from the mistake and growing past it, admitting that he made a mistake and being wiser for the experience, proving that he could be trusted, he did exactly the opposite. So God wants it this way, and he wants it this way also to prove that the naysayers in this regard are wrong. There's a fixation on those who are religious who do not understand God, that God is looking for perfection. He is absolutely not looking for perfection. If he was looking for perfection, we'd all be retired.
Yes.
If he was maybe not rich, but the rest of us would be.
I got work to do.
So you look at the people he chose to work through. None of them were perfect. God is entertained by and finds joy in our peculiarities, our unique attributes and attitudes, and it's what makes us special. And it is by having made mistakes and then getting back up and going again, we prove two things. One is that we can be trusted, and second, that we can be interesting. If God's going to spend eternity with somebody, he wants them to be interesting. So that's why all of that is important to convey, just as God did. And it says that he is a son of Adam, which means he has a conscience in addition to a consciousness. He has an asama in addition to a nephesh. And this is the thing that I fight all the time. We talked about it in an earlier show, because we do have a number of people that are very close to me and very supportive, including my wife, that use AI and like AI. And I'm not one of them. I do not use it. I do not like it, Sam. I am. No green eggs and ham for me. I do not like AI. I prefer to think it through. I like thinking. I find thinking to be enormously enjoyable. So the only way you can think the things of God is to exercise your nasama, which is a conscience. That's the very thing that AI does not have. AI will never outthink a human with an active conscience on any issue that's important to life. They can process equations much faster than I. They can do research much faster than I, but they can't filter what's right, what's wrong, or come to a conclusion that has any value. For example, there never was a Jesus and the Dode is the Messiah who fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bakodim. They're never going to make that discovery because they're incapable of thinking at that level. So by saying that he is a son of Adam, it means that he came equipped with a conscience in addition to consciousness. And then the next line is God teaching. I mean, God's a very, very good, effective teacher. What he is looking for is Shazak. And he's reinforcing this because one of the great splits with this group that he's going to reprimand, and he's not reprimanding them as children that he wants to teach a nice lesson to so that they can be more effective going forward and are not so sloppy in their work. He's condemning them to hell. So this is a really, really nasty reprimand that God is giving. And they decided that it would be appropriate to attack me. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this, these ridiculous women, because God is leading to the single longest rebuke found anywhere in the Torah. It's the most personal, the most focused, and the most degrading and the longest rebuke presented anywhere in the Torah and prophets, and it's specific to this group. So it's important that you know that they garnered considerable support over an issue when I reminded folks that we're headed back to the garden. And what was the wardrobe in the garden?
Naked.
Naked. Yeah, absolutely naked. You know why naked was the wardrobe in the garden?
Why not?
Because they were comfortable around God.
Yahweh.
Yeah, they were comfortable being exposed to God. And the religious aren't comfortable. Why do you think the children of Israel told God, go away? We don't want to ever see you again, see or hear from you again. You scare us to death. They weren't comfortable being around God. Why do you think that Dode, once he had Obed-Edom taking responsibility for getting the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem and on the Temple Mount where it belonged, why do you think that he danced naked?
He was comfortable. He knew Yahweh was going to take care of everything.
Yeah, he was comfortable around Yahweh. So the nakedness is symbolic with that idea. So I was sharing that. I said, you know, you need to get to a point that you're so comfortable around Yahweh that being exposed to him, fully exposed to him, is not a bother for you at all. In fact, it's something you would enjoy. And you can't get there until you fully understand the mechanism that Dode used with Yahweh on matzah. And that is the key ingredient. And we are the first group of people ever to figure this out. What happened on matzah is that Dode's soul took our guilt and carried it into Sheol, which is the equivalent of a black hole, to deposit it there, never to be seen again. So every imperfection that we have has been carried away. Every aspect of our political and religious guilt in the past is gone. So we are innocent from God's point of view. And if you know that all God can see in you is the things that you have done and are doing that are positive, you're going to be really comfortable around it. Yeah. I mean, why not? And so this is the attitude that we need to have in the comfort level if we're going to be of any contribution in our return to Eden, which takes place on Shavuot in 2033. So it's very important. So we were emphasizing that. And one of the now members of the We Hate Craig, and we want to change Yahweh's name so that he becomes a mother god cult, or clique, probably the better term, wanted to have everybody be modest. So it was her big chance to do the word of the day. And she picked a word that was so important, it appeared once in the entirety of the Torah prophets, just because she wanted to prove this point. And so it was translated as, well, God loves those who are modest. Said, and Leah took it, says, you think this is right? Can you check this translation? Because I think they got it wrong. We looked at it and it doesn't say that at all. It is actually, Yahweh says he loves those who are tightly bound to him, wrapped up together with him, enclosed in his arms, if you will. That's who he is. He loves those who are wrapped up in his arms. And he said, well, then, he said, well, you want to render it that way? Well, that's the verbal root, and that's the only way this word is correctly rendered. Well, it says, what about Yahweh says he chose Moshe because he was the most humble of men. But it doesn't say that. It says that he was Anah, which means he was the most responsive guy. To be responsive, I want to tell you, when you're trying to do work with Yahweh, you better be shazak and not humble. So come to find out, there is no Hebrew word for humble, because Yahweh has no interest in it. And what he's interested in is shazak. So they went off and they got some really girly men and a bunch of women to have a tizzy fit over nakedness and being exposed to God, and choosing not to be shazak, which is a fairly manly man thing. I would acknowledge that, most women don't want to be considered tough as nails and resolute and uncompromising and all of that sort of thing, firm. In fact, it actually goes so far that the first definition in some lexicons of shazak is fierce. And women don't want to be perceived that way, so they're really uncomfortable with it. But God isn't telling a woman she needs to be that way. She's telling a man that he needs to be that way, and that he needs to explain to other men that they need to be that way too. And that's what God's looking for, is for somebody who will fight fiercely for what's true. And if you're not willing to be shazak, you need to get out of the way, because this is what God is looking for. He wants someone who has conviction, strength, fortitude, resolve, that nothing will deter them. That's why the last of the three animals that makes a difference in Yisrael's overall standing with God is a bull. Bulls are naturally shazak. So the man isn't a bull, but his personality is defined that way. And shazak is complementary to that concept. This is what God wants. And in this case, it says that he is shamar again. In fact, this next sentence has shamar and shamar. But what he is doing is he is aware that the promise of 7 and the Shabbat is a day to be observant. It's a day to closely examine and carefully consider. The very first thing that God says, I want you to be observant, he recognizes the Shabbat embodies this opportunity to be observant. So the Shabbat is not do nothing day. It's not religious day. In fact, to say that he does not want it to be common, he does not want it profaned, chalal means don't make it religious, because there's nothing more common than religion. So this is a very different approach to all that God is saying. It's the opposite of what a religious person would convey. Rich, when you have a chance too, could you grab like a handful of paper towels? Cara decided that she would leave me a present right underneath my feet here, and I would love to be able to deal with that. It's part of being Shazak. You just don't get freaked out with that sort of thing. But we're going to be doing this for a while, and I just as soon not have to be having my feet spread so that I'm not dealing with her little gift. So this. My wife is already coming in. We're going to try to
That girl.
I guess.
Oh my God.
Clean up on
Aisle 3.
aisle 3 right now.
Oh, that girl.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's nice to have a wife that's willing to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, isn't it?
Just get it
So,
done, right?
Here we go. So it says his hands are, and especially that which he influences, will be kept from acting on anything which is irrational or distressful. Thank you, Leo.
No,
And the beauty of that is that God has given this man 7 spirits, including the spirit of Yahweh, the spirit of intelligence, the spirit of understanding, the spirit of knowing the entire story, and spirit of Gabor, which is strength and conviction, as well as the spirit of respect for Yahweh. And in doing all of that, what God is saying, I've put some guardrails here, and I'm going to keep him on the fairly straight and narrow. He's going to, what he says is going to be right. We've written now 35 of these books, and it's not very often that somebody can put that kind of information out over the course of now 24 years, or do thousands of these shows and be subject to anybody that wants to be critical, and yet no one has ever found anything that was untrue that I've ever said. Never.
Right.
There are times where I have gone back and said, I think that now that I have learned more, I can refine that position, and this is where I think we should, the conclusion that makes the most sense. But not a single person. Thousands and thousands have tried. No one has ever been able to do it. I had tens of thousands that tried to repudiate what I wrote in Prophet of Doom, now Goddamn Religion, to absolutely no avail. So God's pretty good at making certain that we would be productive, and that's what he wants. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't go back and correct mistakes, because that's part of it. That's the credibility. It's a huge part of what brought JB and I together. This willingness to admit when you didn't have it as well defined as you should, and that you've learned more, and now you're in a position to correct the mistake and be wiser for it and move on. So it says, do not say regarding Hanakar. This is important because one of the titles that Yahweh debuts for this individual is Nakar. He does so in the Torah, in Devarim, Deuteronomy, 29th chapter. It's not the first title that he uses by any sense of the imagination, but it's one of the most prolific titles in the Torah and the prophets and the writings regarding this role. It's Nakar. It means to be an observant son from a foreign land, to be particularly understanding, thoughtful, someone who takes the time to examine and then discern and acknowledge what he has found and is respectful regarding the material. So with all of the prophecies regarding Ha-Nakar, and it's used here with a definite article, so it's a title, you would think that there would be those that were searching to find out, well, who is he? God said he's going to come at the very end when Yahweh is on the cusp of delivering salvation. It says that he is going to be one that's uniquely right, that he's going to be exceedingly observant. He's got observant like, 5 times already, and Nakar means observant foreigner. You'd think the people would be looking for it. Well, who has rendered Yahweh's testimony from the oldest manuscripts as accurately as it can be, and has written ongoing commentaries about the word of God so it can be understood, and has deduced the most profoundly important and previously unheralded insights? You would think people would be looking for that fellow.
Yeah. Moshe talks about him.
Yes, he does.
Solomon talks about him. I would be like,
Absolutely.
who is this guy?
Yeah. Dode writes about him. Isaiah wrote an entire textbook for him.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Yeah. He's mentioned in every prophet. And sometimes it's enormous. Like Dode wrote an entire mashal proverb regarding the Choder. And Yahweh has an entire chapter, or Yeshayah has an entire chapter, the 11th chapter, to this role. So anyway, do not say regarding Ha-Nakar, the observant foreigner, who has formed a relationship and joined with Yahweh. So this individual is not speaking on his own initiative. He's, you want to be careful to go against him, because Yahweh is speaking in first person here. And he says that this Ha-Nakri has formed a unbreakable relationship with him. So that would be somebody that I would not want to oppose. That would be a really bad idea, because you can't form a relationship with God without God's consent. Who has formed a relationship with Yahweh, something which would infer Yahweh will surely abandon me, preventing me from being included as part of his family. So this can be interpreted one or two ways. You can interpret it as this mother goddess group did, and say, even though everything we know about God we've learned from this man, because this man is correctly saying that they're wrong about every position they have taken now. We want him excluded. So surely Yahweh will abandon me. Surely Yahweh will not include me in part of his family. That the only way they can pretend that they're going to be included and that they're included in the covenant is to say, I'm not included. And so this is written for them in that regard. And then it is written more largely for Yisrael. Yisrael has denied Yahweh for a very long time. And they have gotten very good at blaming Yahweh. They will occasionally throw him a Hashem or an Adonai comment and say, well, he's looking out for us. And he's not. And Yahweh did abandon Israel a very long time ago. And he divorced Israel 2,700 years ago. And but the thing that he wants his people to know is you should not say that Yahweh is going to abandon you and keep you from being included in the covenant family. God's just said, I'm coming back. I'm going to provide restoration. I'm going to provide salvation. I'm going to deliver a promise. So don't give up. You individually can be part of this family. You can individually experience a relationship with Yahweh. It's all laid out for you. That's why we wrote these books. That's why we do this show. So God says, don't give up. Then don't write me off. I'm here for you. I will return to you as soon as you return to me, and with open arms. Then God uses a powerful term that we spoke of in the last program. It is Sharis. He said, and let not the Sharis, this would be this, what God would call an esteemed, but certainly authorized official designee, say, what
Yeah.
then if I become a withered and unproductive tree, an incapacitated counselor, a paralyzed messenger? This is one of the reasons why you have to rewrite books over time. Because when I first saw this and I read, wait a minute, tree. So what I did is I went to Etza rather than Etz and said, well, you know, Etza speaks of a messenger and a counselor, so I'll put that in. And since Yabesh can speak of withered, we'll say unproductive counselor. And that's how you render it, because you have no concept of why God would go from the Nakar, this observant foreigner, which when I first translated this verse, I didn't know that applied to me either. But there was no way to say, why would God speak of this Nakar as a withered tree? He's now saying that the Nakar can't say of himself, I am but a, you know, what happens if as this official designee, that I become withered and unproductive as a tree. I'm going to tell you, there's no way that in the first 20 years of doing this that I could have processed that.
Yeah, where's the
I didn't
tree coming
recognize
from?
that.
What, yeah,
That I was the tree that went. Listen, it took me forever to come to the realization. Well, the fourth day of creation isn't about creating anything; it's about announcing something, and that the greater and lesser luminaries represent Dode and myself as Yada, and that I reflect his brilliance, and that collectively we show the way to fulfill, and actually ourselves fulfill, the Moedim, which is what the narrative says, and that one reflects the other's brilliance. I had no idea of that. I mean, it takes a lot of time before you come to that, and you have to finally deal with the 89th Mizmor, which forever links these two, Dode and Yada, via the sun and the moon. And I think it's the 103rd or 113th Mizmor that does the same thing, that speaks of their eternal relationship. Well, then you get into the story of the garden, and we came back to it because of this, the belligerence of these people claiming that they were speaking for Mama God. And we realized that the story in the garden, the key character in that story isn't actually Adam. It certainly isn't YAHOWAH. She is a bit role. It's actually the tree of knowledge. And the tree of knowledge isn't the most important tree. The most important tree is the tree of lives. But other than saying it exists, YAHOWAH says nothing about that tree, because it's premature for anybody to even know about the tree, because the tree of lives didn't become the tree of lives for another, 4,000 years from that point. And it was premature to imbibe from the tree of knowledge, because the tree of knowledge was going to speak about what the tree of lives had accomplished, and that wasn't going to happen for another 6,000 years. So, but the tree, nonetheless, the tree of knowledge becomes the essence of that story, the number one character in the story all throughout. And to figure out that is what we're doing here, that these have become the tree of knowledge, and therefore the author of them is the person that God is saying is the tree of knowledge, takes you a long time to get there. And you're not going to understand this passage to get there. But you know how I finally got there? No?
no.
There's this interesting story that YAHOWAH tells in the 11th chapter of his book, YAHOWAH 11. It's about a chodar, which is a stem. And it tells you that a stem has deep roots, and that that stem that has deep roots is an observant branch. So are we getting anything close to tree here? Stem,
We're building
deep
one.
roots, observant branch. Okay. So he goes on with the story, and he says that this branch, who is deeply rooted and is an observant branch, by the way, that he's going to have, the chodar's masculine singular, it's going to have the spirit of Etza. Well, I just mentioned Etza, didn't I? Etza is from Etz. And so now we're saying that he's saying the chodar, which branch, stem, roots, and observant branch, he's now saying he's got the spirit of that tree. That's the spirit of the tree. What tree? Well, after Gabora, guess what the sixth of 7 spirits that is given to the Choder? It's the spirit of Dayat. What is this tree? It is the Etz of Dayat. So the Choder is the tree of knowledge. And there ain't nobody else that qualifies for that role, ever. And so you learn, okay, so God's presenting you as a tree. I guess that's good. Because he goes on to say that this tree is para. What does para mean?
Productive.
Fruitful and productive,
bowl, yeah.
right? Fruitful and productive. The tree thing all the way through. And so it's a fruitful and productive tree, deeply rooted, with observant branches. And he's a stem, and he's got the spirit of the tree and of knowledge. So now we know. So the Nakar, this observant foreigner, which is Natsir, which is the same family of words in the presentation of the Choder and Yeshaya 11. He is the same fellow. And what he is saying, what God is saying is, it would be really, really, really bad, really, really, really bad under these circumstances of him returning to deliver salvation, working with one who is Sadaka, right about him. If the tree that is providing all of this information at this time were to even contemplate the idea of becoming withered and unproductive. So sometimes when Yeshaya is writing, he isn't necessarily writing to everybody. Sometimes in the book of Yeshaya, there are lots of places where Yeshaya has written a private note to his pal. And I'm his pal. That's just the bottom line here. It's why when we go forward into the 63rd chapter, and Yeshaya is absolutely ecstatic. He is just beside himself. And he's saying, that's my Zeroah. That's my guy. I am in the wine vat right with him. He's in there with me. And together, we're going to save many. Mm-hmm. And he's speaking of the man from Edom. And he's celebrating the fact that we're entwined, we're working together, that he has written these private notes and instructions on what we're supposed to do. And this is God saying, don't you even contemplate for a second this idea of withering up and becoming an unproductive tree. And he's trying to also inform us that, oh, by the way, you don't have another 8 years to go. You have another 1,008 years to go. So
you don't get off that.
More
coffee. More coffee, please.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, more coffee. Yeah, more coffee. Well, the fact is that the 3 of you guys, Leah, who was there, plus our great friend Dr. Jeff and Rich over here, we're all engaged together for the next 1,000 years. So if you don't like the work, this would be a really good time to bail out, because God's going all in with us. We're the teachers providing the fruit for the next 1,000 years to explain how we capitalize on the garden. Then it says, to the contrary, this is what YAHOWAH says. On behalf of the Sheresh, this esteemed and authorized official designee, who has been subject to castration. Now, I've asked that before, but there's one animal that is commonly castrated by people so that it's more easily controlled.
Ox.
What is that animal?
Ox. Yeah, the bull.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, it's a bull. A bull that becomes an ox after being castrated. Right. The only difference between an ox and a bull is a ox is a castrated bull. Okay, it's not a different species.
No, it's called steer.
And so, the very animal that YAHOWAH is modeling the personality of his Nakar after is a bull. So, to the contrary, this is what YAHOWAH says on behalf of the Sheresh, this esteemed and authorized official designee, who has been subject to castration as a result of the positions they have taken as leaders. So the good thing is here, it's got others cast in with him. This was plural. The verb was written in the plural form, which means that the bull has a bevy of bulls associated with him, and the attempt of the world is going to be to try to castrate and control all of us. So this is inclusive in this particular case. So it says, so this is what Yahowah says on behalf of the Sheresh, the esteemed and authorized official designees, plural, who have been subject to castration as a result of positions they have taken as leaders. They provide guidance regarding the benefits of the relationship, Asher, by being consistently observant and actively attentive while actually exploring and investigating my 7 Shabbat promises. So once again, we're told, what is the best time to be observant and thoughtful? Shabbat. And one of the things we want to consider is the totality of the promise God has made regarding his 6+1 plan, which is consistent with that menorah that is off of both shoulders here. I've got a menorah off my right shoulder and off my left shoulder. It is done in a 6+1 format with the middle harvest being the one that stands out by itself. They have the spring harvest, Pesach, Matzah, Makotim. You have the fall harvest, which is Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah. And the guy in the middle there is Shabuah, which is the next one. And it will begin the time of Israel's troubles. So that's where we are. And it's those who are named in it. There's 8 people in particular that are part of that, in addition to the Zeroah, who is responsible for the harvest. We are the teachers and the doers to prepare this mortal remnant of Yisrael for earning Yahweh's trust and being released off of this planet. So they provide guidance regarding the benefits of the relationship, being consistently observant regarding the plan of 7 that Yahweh has articulated. So they have chosen, preferring at this time, my will and my appreciation by revealing the correct path to the benefits of the relationship. So rather than us seeking Yahweh's will, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say we've sought Yahweh's will. It says we've chosen Yahweh's will. We appreciate what Yahweh wants. So we have investigated what he had to say. It's quite clear what he wants achieved. And we've agreed to do what he wants. Pretty simple concept, really. God's a very effective communicator. He tells us exactly what he's trying to achieve. We just simply said, okay, that sounds good. We'll do that.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I have been a fan of that from the beginning. What I've learned right at the beginning is that you can never be wrong if you model your attitude and approach to what Yahweh is articulating. If Yahweh says that he was Shazak during the Exodus from Mitzrayim, Egypt, and we're trying to conduct an Exodus from Babylon, the confusion and intermixing of religion and politics, then we can't go wrong by also being Shazak, firm. If Yahweh is steadfast and doesn't change, we should be steadfast.
Absolutely.
So you just can't be wrong by modeling your attitude towards Yahweh. If Yahweh says, "I like work, I want you to work," then why not work? See how it works out for you. If Yahweh says, I value being observant, it's going to turn out really good for you, why not do that? So we didn't ask. It doesn't say here that we asked Yahweh for his will for our lives, does it?
Not at all.
No.
It just says we chose at
chose
this time
Well,
to do what God wanted. That's
We said,
what it
okay.
says. Okay, it was pretty simple, right? Okay, you want us to do? You want us to do
Sure.
what? Now, there's a couple of times I've said, "You want me to do
Really?
what?
Really? You want to thank them?
Are you?
Another option?
Yeah, you got a plan. He says, so read what I said. Don't even consider that option. No, I don't have another plan. And you're it. So do good work, no problem. If you fail, the earth is going to be destroyed and there'll be no life, and Dod's not going to return. He's not going to have a kingdom. And so my beloved son is going to have fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim for nothing. And all of my last 4 Moed Mikre are going to be unfulfilled as humans destroy this planet. But no pressure. Don't pressure at all. Sure. Okay. Anyway, so revealing the correct path. So what Yahowah's preference is to reveal the correct path to the benefits of the relationship. We have celebrated Asher since it was the first word that we have translated. Therefore, they are positioned to be overpowering and intense, uncompromising and firm, unrelenting and effective. Shazak, and it's a shame that our good friend Dr. Jeff is in healing broken bodies, because I am quite certain that Dr. Jeff's favorite word is Shazak. My favorite may be Asher, maybe Kara among my favorites. Bien being one of my favorites. I'm beginning to like Chakma a lot. But Dr. Jeff, he really likes Chakma. Chakma is, we're going to be unrelenting. We're going to be effective. We're going to have tremendous conviction. We're going to be uncompromising and firm with my covenant. So that's our job. If we see somebody that is misrepresenting the covenant, we're going to tell them. And we're not going to be compromising at all. We're not to be tolerant. We're to be firm. Mm-hmm. We're not to be meek or modest regarding what we know either. Firm regarding the covenant. Tough. I mean, this is an absolute repudiation of one of the central planks of the we hate Craig and deny everything that's in YadaYahowah gang out there. That's what this is. So the mission simply cannot be accomplished alone or timidly, even with the 7 spirits of Yahowah enabling Ha-Nakar, the observant foreigner, the Etz Dayath, this tree of knowledge, and the Choder stem. This is why God has cleaned house, replacing my publisher, my editor, a webmaster, and social media manager with an unofficially authorized and esteemed group of designees, Sharish, so that we would prevail as we approach the ultimate Shabbat observance, which will be on October 7th of 2033. A Shabbat, by the way. It's convenient the way that all that worked out, of course. I'm sure it's by happenstance. Team Yah has chosen to be at the center of Yah's will, earning his appreciation, doing so by revealing the correct path to receive the benefits of the relationship. So let's be clear. It ain't easy. God's not saying it's going to be easy. To prevail, we must all remain Shazak, which is the operative term at this time. It is the antithesis of compromising, of being modest, humble, or meek. To be Shazak, the covenant family must remain intensely devoted, overpowering to the point of being harsh, unrelenting, and firm, totally resolute. There is to be no compromise with regard to the terms and conditions of the covenant. If you are in or if you are out, conditions are demonstrated by the tenacity and determination of each individual to stay the course. Waver at this time, lured away by malcontent mothers, and your father will disown you. Important to keep that in mind. These are not my rules or my determinations, but his. And I'm not about to question him or propose otherwise. So this is our Father's gift to his Shazak. He says, then I will offer freely giving at this time to those, plural again, it's lahim, in my home and in my family, and within my protective enclosure, a hand outstretched, welcoming, supportive, empowering, and a name, even better, more beneficial and valuable, than other sons and daughters. So, fellas,
Wow.
pretty cool, man. You got the hand of God.
Yeah.
He says, I'm freely giving them at that time in my home. And by the way, and my protective enclosure means this is happening during our fulfillment of Sukkah, of that 1,000 years where we're in the garden making all this happen. So we have a opportunity now without near the interference is probably not a right term, but we have some autonomy, and it even not the right term, but we have an opportunity to show that we've got what it takes to be right. We've got what it takes to care about and contribute to the very will and intent of Yahweh, and to be firm and show conviction regarding the covenant relationship. And as a result of that, when we enter the millennial Shabbat, we will have, we'll be in this protective enclosure at that time in God's family and part of his home. And he's going to freely give us a hand, tremendous support throughout that process. And this contingent of individuals who have earned their position with God, make no mistake about that. They're going to be given a name, even more valuable and beneficial and than the sons, any other sons and daughters. So there'll be a lot of sons and daughters that will be part of this covenant family, but there's this key group God's got a special name for. He hasn't told me what that special name is. It's going to be a surprise. We can speculate, and nothing wrong with doing so. JB, you got any ideas?
No, I'm open.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find whatever God chooses to be appropriate. You've done a whole glossary, Kirk, on words. You got a favorite?
Y'all.
Y'all.
Y'all. You want to be y'all?
Y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. All.
It's got y'all in it.
Yankees.
All. Yeah. That works for me.
good.
I've always liked y'all, and this if it's a good Southern boy, that'll work just fine. Yeah. Yeah. All.
All
Be a
y'all.
good name. Yeah, it'd be a good name for a boat too, wouldn't it? Yeah, all. Welcome aboard, you all. I like it. Kevin, you got a preference?
Not a preference. I'm just guessing it'll be Saris. I think that Saris is a name that designates hierarchy, and that's specifically what he's speaking of here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we know there's Yahweh, and then a step there, and Elyon is Dode, and then we have
Correct.
a Choder, a Nakri, a Bashar. I mean, the Dode's herald, and then there's going to be a hierarchy below that. And I think Saris fits in with that. I don't know that he's necessarily
I wouldn't.
told us.
The key means to ascertain something that's important, profound, and true is to listen to what God had to say. Pretty clever. What you just did is listen to what God had to say and say, yeah, that works for me. I like that. And one of the things I like about that name is that it speaks of castration. And that is precisely what the world has sought to do to us.
Mhm.
If you were me on X and you realize that you're so castrated in your ability to be productive in that environment because you don't comply with what they're looking for, which is to be religious, conspiratorial, or political, and have an audience based upon promoting those kinds of lies because they're popular. That's the whole algorithm works to constrain or castrate. So Sharish is a really good term. It means that we're all a bit bullish. We're all official. We're designated by God to do this job, and that we have God's hand of support and have received the name that He has chosen. That's a good one, Kevin. You
Well done.
well done.
As Leah would say, do I get a gold star?
Well, that's what Leah wants. She works for gold stars. Now her gold stars are fairly affordable. They come in little stickies on a piece of paper. You can buy, 50 of them for about a dime. So it's pretty cheap. But she's just absolutely loves her gold stars. So it's rubbed off on you. I will give you one. I will give to him an everlasting. God's got something a little better. So better than the gold star. God says, I will give to him an everlasting and eternal personal and proper name, designation, and reputation, which for having shared the benefits of the relationship will never be removed or taken away. I think there are 3 feminine words that are associated with the 8 who are part of Shabuah, Teruah, and Kapurim. So it isn't going to be just hymns, but also hers. But for the most part, God finds men easier to work with than women. I always, when I had my businesses, I always found women to be easier to work with than men. And I had more women in managerial positions than I ever had men in managerial positions, and far fewer problems when I was working with women in managerial positions in all of my businesses. He is. I think there's 3 or 4 women that play roles. A couple even have speaking roles, but it's mostly dudes. There's a difference between those who are more cerebral and those who are more emotionally responsive, and both have value. He loves both, but there are far fewer women that are designated in this regard. And plus, it's really, really hard to castrate a woman. So you've got that as well. Yes. Oh, Leia's got a point. What is your point?
Yeah, I wanted to make one point that this charis word, I was shocked when I ran across it because my mind instantly went to the 3 naked ladies, which means this role is so important that Halal Ben Shakar needed to corrupt it, pervert it, and turn it into something horrible.
Yes.
So that was my addition.
And clearly the thing that brought us together, and I'm looking over here where you're not, because your image
I'm over here, my mic.
Your image now for those reviewing this program is on this side of the screen. And it looks stupid if I'm looking where you really are, because that's not where your image is on the screen. So excuse me if I'm looking away from you. But what brought us together initially is you were searching for the feminine influence and who was that woman?
The good woman and the bad woman.
Yeah, the good woman and the bad woman.
2 women in the story, and I had no idea.
Well, you're going to learn more about the bad woman than you could ever have possibly imagined, even though we have learned a lot about her already. You're going to learn a very, very, very much about the bad woman going forward. And there is a productive woman who is part of all of this, and she plays a significant role in what God's trying to achieve with his people.
Is it Kara? She wants to do it.
I know, Kara. I don't think Kara's serious. The Faith home of the covenant family is God's idea of what he is trying to. It's his primary goal in creating the universe, and the Choma depicts our position within the protective enclosure of the earth when it's restored to the conditions in Eden, particularly during Sukkah shelters in year 6,000 Yah, which is less than 8 years away. I mean, it's 7 years and 5 months or something. I mean, it's or 7 years, I guess, and 9 months is where we are right now, but less than 8 years away from this writing. Amazing that we're at 137 and some odd days from beginning of the time of troubles. Boy, this is really coming upon us quickly. And so the Yada hand is God's, welcoming and supporting those who continue to contribute to the well-being of his people. And the Shem name will be a God-given designation befitting the Shazak Resolute. And I think you've got it right, Kevin. So there are times when the context reveals that who, him, third person masculine singular should be rendered as if the text read him, them. And while that may be permissible here, it would have God repeating himself using a different pronoun, since him, those in Yahweh's family and enclosure are assured of his hand and favorable designation. Therefore, I suspect that the concluding gift of an eternal designation, which will never be removed, is being bestowed upon not just Hanakar for his commitment, but I think on the entire team that are working to support this effort. So in the next statement, the Great Isaiah Scroll, which is 1QISAA, differs from the Masoretic text and from the scroll known as 1QISAB, both found in Cave 1 of the Qumran collection. It's going to find that the positioning of those who are serving as co-workers, whether this distinction precedes or follows Yahweh's name, it's presented one way in two of the texts and the other in the other. Also, 1QISAA, the Great Isaiah Scroll, is the odd man out on extolling, which is what it says, versus Yahweh, extolling Yahweh's Shem, or name in this case, versus loving it. So since there's two verses, the one we're going to go with loving it, although there's not a huge difference between loving it and extolling it, but loving it, I think, is more endearing.
Personal, yeah.
Yeah. And, it would be a mistake for somebody to say that there is a perfect rendition of any one of these prophets or the Torah. There isn't. They were written in human hands. And there is a huge difference between the spoken word and the written word. Everything that's in them was either spoken by a person or by God. The moment it goes from a spoken word with inflection to the written word, you have lost a lot. That's one of the reasons God wanted us to go from the writing another book to this Yahweh blog, is that the spoken word conveys far more information than the written word. The written word is a better study tool, but in terms of reaching people and encouraging them to do the right thing, the spoken word is far more powerful. So the very moment that God's word went from spoken to written, a great deal was lost. And the moment that the second scribe tried to write down what the first scribe had written, more was lost. And as time evolved and the language was essentially forgotten, it was a variation that was brought back, but the language spoken by Jews in Israel today, Hebrew, is a very different language than the one that is revealed here in the Torah. They have enormous similarities, a lot of vocabulary overlap, but they are quite different. And so God's not trying to say that every word is inerrant. That would be wrong. And if there's a difference between manuscripts, and there are very few. I mean, you can look at the Masoretic, which was written in the 11th century, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were scribed 200 to 300 BCE for the most part. So it's 14 centuries. And there's only about 14% difference between them.
Pretty good.
And that's really extraordinary. But they're not. There are differences, but it's about 14%. And of those differences, about 80% of those differences are fairly meaningless. Plural, singular, masculine, feminine, preposition, conjunction, that sort of thing. Then the second part of it is that if you remove the rabbinical diacritical markings and you just go back to the original letters, that you remove a huge amount of error. And then because God is so redundant in his messaging, that there really isn't anything that you're going to miss. He gave us enough examples saying the same thing consistently that it's very easy to put it together. So therefore, I'm always comfortable with when there is a difference. Tell me what the difference is, and you can make whatever decision you wish. The children of Hanakar, the observant and discerning foreigner, have formed a relationship with and adhere closely to Yahweh. You guys look a little old to be my kids. The fact is that from God's point of view, because you have come to know what it is needed from us to become part of the covenant family of God. He is viewing me as a contributor to your participation in the covenant family. So he's saying that the Nakar has children. That's God's view. It's a way of doing what God likes to do the most, which he likes to credit those who work with him. And if you're willing to work with him, he wants to credit you. And so you might say, okay, all right, so my role was to correctly present your words and do so with conviction and enthusiasm. That doesn't exactly make me the doer. It just makes me the messenger. But that's not the way God looks at it. Now, I guess there's been so few people that would even do the message part.
That,
Yeah, that's my guy. So anyway, he's saying that the Nakar, this observant and discerning foreigner, has offspring. And that he's saying that the unique thing about this offspring is they've formed a relationship and adhere closely to Yahweh, which is exactly what you want. What he is making very clear, and I'm very comfortable with, is he says that this is not a cult. A cult would be that I would be soliciting your allegiance to me. And God is correctly presenting this here as the Nakar. His mission is to encourage your allegiance to Yahweh. And if your allegiance is to Yahweh, then we're working together. We're on the same page. But it's a very different mindset than the human mindset, or it's the opposite mindset, by the way, of the naysayers, in that God is correct. The children of Hanakri, of Nakar here, the observant and discerning foreigner, have formed a relationship with and adhere closely to. This is that same word that Yahweh used speaking of these Tzedakah, this one man who was in Enosh and a son of Adam. He said that he had a close and personal and breakable relationship with Yahweh. He's saying that is the same condition pertains to the Sharis, this designated individuals who are part of the covenant family, and that they have a relationship and adhere closely to Yahweh to serve, to attend to, and to assist him. Now, in this case, you have a choice of a capital H or a lowercase h. And in Hebrew, there are no capitalizations. There's only one case for letters, as their case in many languages. So we artificially created to determine whether or not we're using a pronoun to speak for God, you or him or he, your, for example. We will capitalize if it speaks of God. It just helps to communicate. There is no such distinction in Hebrew. So God could be speaking of that this children, the offspring of Hanakar, the observant foreigner, who have formed an enduring and close personal relationship with Yahweh, serve, attend to, and assist Yahweh, him, capital H. I don't think that's the right rendering of it, though. I think it's they serve, attend to, and assist, lowercase him. I think what God is saying is if you form a relationship with me in this regard, you are supporting the guy that I have designated to do this job. And if you do that in the hierarchy that I have set out here in terms of I've designated you for this role, then things are going to work out. I think that's the way it was intended to be read, but you are absolutely free to read it either way.
At the end of the day, it's the same thing. If you're assisting the Nakri and what the Nakri needs to get done because he's doing what Yahweh wants done, then at the end of the day, it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. But even though it is the same thing, it's important to have us present it as completely as possible and give you the options. It's because what I think is intended doesn't mean it's so. It's just that's what I think is intended. But I happen to agree with you that we're The
Well,
distinction
same
in practice is nil. I guess the one distinction would be that while we are doing what Yahweh wants, and God's been very clear with that, he's always said that we're doing what Yahweh wants, that we recognize that he has given a man a lot of responsibility, and he has imbued him with the 7 spirits of Yahweh. And there should be some recognition of the importance of supporting that work. And I think that distinction does have some merit. Loving and adoring that which is associated with Yahweh's name. That would certainly work out. What was the
Top
name
every
of these
book?
books?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. YadaYahowah.
YadaYahowah.
To know, respect, acknowledge Yahweh's name. That is who we are. This is the Yahweh log. So the children of Nakar have formed a relationship with and adhere closely to Yahweh, to serve, attend to, and assist him, loving and adoring that which is associated with Yahweh's name, continually and demonstrably existing as his co-workers. La haya, la hu, la ibed. Consistently, continually, demonstrably existing as his co-workers, always observing and noticeably examining while considering the Shabbat, the promise of 7, making it special by avoiding disrespecting it. They are uncompromising and strengthened, devoted and unrelenting, established and firm. Shazak. A third time. In my covenant. Ba Bereth Ani. They're resolute, uncompromising, strong, unrelenting, and firm in my covenant family. That's a nice job description, isn't it? That's Yahweh setting us up for success. Yahweh giving credit. God saying, this is my team. I support my team. My team loves my name. They love the promise of 7, understand how it all plays out. They are devoted to being right about me. I've officially designated them. I'm empowering them. I stand with them. I'm supporting them. I appreciate that they're seeking to do what I want done. And as a result, they are firm. They're tough. They're resilient regarding my covenant. And they are in Ba. They're doing this in my covenant family. Not just about my covenant family. He wanted to say about, he could have used all, but he didn't. He used Ba, in my covenant family. And that's a nice distinction too. So Hanakar, the observant foreigner, is masculine singular. And yet, as a miracle from God, he has children. That's why the par becomes a para, isn't it? That's why the Adam becomes an Adamah. That is why the Etz becomes Etzah. Is that God is trying to show that men can conceive children too, particularly if it's through the covenant. So Hanakar, masculine singular, and yet, as a miracle from God, he has children. They are the beneficiaries of his purpose, which is to direct all who will listen to the covenant. This is why he is referred to as a Zeroah, another feminine noun, a feminine title, one cultivating a fruitful harvest. It explains again while para or par bull becomes para, productive. Now, discerning individuals can quibble over whether the covenant children who have formed a close and indivisible relationship with Yahweh are Sharath, attending to and assisting Yahweh directly or indirectly by serving alongside his Nakar. While the distinction may seem trivial to some, I see this as Yahweh providing the needed support to get this done because we're running out of time. And either way, the children of the observant foreigner are not only enjoying a close personal relationship with Yahweh and celebrating his name, they love God's Shem. Therefore, I see us as members of the same family. That's what God said. We're in the covenant family, working together as a team to accomplish the mission that God has set before us. And from this perspective, Yahweh is commending our continued and steadfast willingness to define ourselves by our resolve, our firmness, to demonstrate our commitment to examining and considering that which pertains to the final Shabbat. That would be the celebration of Sukkot, as it represents Yahweh's ultimate promise to use the seventh epoch of time on this planet so that we can enjoy the eighth octave from there. He is also pleased with our unwavering and unflinching commitment to standing resolute in our convictions, never relenting, so that we are firmly established in his covenant family. And so with the constant iteration of chakma, and it's everywhere, we recognize that Yahweh has a preference for strength over timidity, harshness instead of meekness, and for reliance over humility. You guys have any issue with that, or you think there's room for timidity in all of this?
No. You remember one time I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
What do you think?
Go ahead, Kirk.
No, I was just saying, it's one time you called in on the show and you said I'm going to be an hour late. So do a show. And of course, that used to freak me out. So I was in the middle of doing the Beatitudes. I was writing those and saying, and blessed are the meek and all that crap. And I said, this ain't right. So I took all the Greek things and I had all the books over there. So I changed that over. And then I looked up every word that it could possibly mean in the Greek to the Hebrew. And it wipes out everything about the Beatitudes. So, I mean,
yes.
From that point on, it was never a question in my mind. I mean, any language you want to choose, that's not what it says. So it strengthened my resolve.
Unfortunately, the all of it, what you mean, the Sermon on the Mount was, while it was recorded in Hebrew by the ones that actually provided the text for it, which is the Evanim, and they would have used Shazak. It was changed to Greek by Matthew, who plagiarized them. But even in the translation, he used a word that is the same quality that would be ascribed to a warhorse. It was the Greek word that a warhorse would be able to go into battle without flinching. And they just had this calmness about them where all could be dying all around them and havoc. And yet they were able to do their job. And so it was a Greek word that conveyed that. Not that we should ever care what the Greek words say, but your research in that is consistent with the etymology of the Greek term that was chosen. So I will bring them at this time, God says, to my set apart mountain. So guess where you guys are going to be on Teruah? You know, you're thinking, all right, man, I get out of here on Shabuah, get a big vacation. Sorry about you, Yada. And you have to go back in 3 years, but not the rest of us. I will bring them. It didn't say I will bring him, does it? He's already there. So I will bring them.
To build up first.
Yeah, I will bring them at this time. There you go, guys. I hope you like tents.
Sleeping in a tent.
I think that's where we're going to be hanging out for 3.5 years. A replica of the tent of the Restoring Witness will be erected where the Dome of the Rock once was. There's a lot of cleanup on that Temple Mount before it goes down there. But I think that's where we're going to be hanging out. So I will bring them at this time to my set apart mountain. But they're going to have a good time. I'll cause them to rejoice, such that they are elated. So it's going to be good duty. It's going to be a lot of fun. Well, this first part of True is not going to be so much fun for me, but the rest of it's going to be great. So that they are elated in my family home. That means we're going to be in the tent of the Restoring Witness. Pretty cool. That's a nice place to hang. I can't imagine a better situation for us. And we're going to be there to be distinct, to be separated, to be set apart. for intervention and intercession, for judgment and decisions, and being assessed and evaluated for the purpose of being assessed. And it won't be us being assessed and evaluated, but it'll be all those that we're talking to. Our job will to help them be properly assessed and evaluated. Tiflah is the word in Hebrew, and it is almost always rendered prayer. So they'll say that, my family and home of prayer. But yeah, you guys have both dealt with this word. It's from Philah, and there is nothing associated even remotely akin to prayer in the term. It is either speaks of being unique, set apart, and distinct, which is what God is saying. I want you to be set apart, unique, and distinct, and therefore not religious, not political, and set apart to me, and set apart. So set apart to Yahweh, and set apart from man's minutia is the primary definition. And the secondary definition would be this idea of intervention and intercession. So that's what the words say. Now, you want to be religious and choose prayer, that's up to you. But my job is to tell you what the words say. You do this one in your glossary, Kirk?
I came up to, yeah, probably. It's 240 of them.
Yeah.
Tiflah
Tiflah is clearly based upon one of those two words. Pilah is the word that I think it's most based on, which is to be unique and distinct, set apart. But Pilal is the other that is given by the lexicons, particularly Strong's, which it speaks of intervention and engaging in such a way as to provide intercession, judgment, and quality decisions. I have no problem with both, but that's what we're there to do. So I will bring them at this time to my set apart mountain, that'd be Moriah on the Temple Mount, and I will cause them to rejoice such that they are elated. It's just be a good time with God. And my family and home, which means that we are going to be in the tent of the restoring witness on the Temple Mount during this occasion, and we will be distinct and separated, set apart, but also serving for the purpose of intervention and intercession, such that good judgment can be made and decisions rendered regarding being this evaluation. Their uplifting and elevating offerings and the sacrifices slaughtered for them are acceptable and approved, especially satisfying on my sacrificial altar. There are two that make a sacrifice at this time, which is why it's plural. It's both the bull and the goat, and therefore Yada and Elia. And these uplifting offerings play out on Teruah and on Kippurim, and they are very important in the ultimate reconciliation of Israel. They fulfill instructions in the Torah, where the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant, which will be delivered to the tent of the restoring witness by the two witnesses, particularly by Yada as Obed-Edom. And it's going to be anointed with the blood of both the bull and of the goat. And that'll be on Kippurim, but on Teruah, it's the bull that is the uplifting offering. And it makes it sound like Elia is going to have a support team in getting that sacrifice properly arranged and displayed, and everything done as God wants it on the altar. And God's going to bring about that same altar that was when Solomon gave his speech about Hanakri on Teruah, the day that the house for Yahweh's name was completed. And he stood in the midst of this altar to deliver it. And it would have had the four horns, two from the ram, two from the bull. And it is a cauldron that's the right size to roast a man who is being presented as a bull on this occasion. And that is the uplifting offering that God's talking about. Now, this is because my home and family will be invited and summoned, read and recited, called out and proclaimed, a home and family of reasoned requests and sound judgment. for those who are set apart, distinct, and uncommon, and of intervention and intercession, even of assessment and evaluation. Tapala, same word that we just discovered a moment ago, for the entire family and for all people. Yeshayah 56:7. So on Teruah, Yahweh will be bringing every covenant member, and especially those who are the Sharish who have participated in all of this up to this point, and are working on behalf of and aiding the Nakar to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem to witness the sacrifice and uplifting offering of the Adam of Parah. It will be a time of great celebration as God removes all traces of religious contamination from the surviving remnant of his people. And from this point forward, all who inhabit the earth will be set apart unto Yahweh and special. One of the most maligned of all Hebrew words is tefillah. It is from the actionable root of pilah, to be separate and set apart, distinct and distinguished. Tefillah is also favored by a pilah, which shapes it such that it speaks of intercession and intervention, judgment, and mediation, and of being assessed and evaluated. And while I incorporated all of these concepts into the translation, I did not include prayer because there is no basis for it in the word's etymology. It was added by religious individuals. Although I understand that the mother goddesses, they have a whole song out now and a whole lecture.
Teach you how to pray.
On how to pray.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Disgusting.
If you're going to hear
That'd
Mama's
be very
voice, you're going to
interesting.
have to.
Yeah.
If you're going to hear Mama's voice, you're going to be down on your knees praying. So I'm just saying.
You are. It's the only way to hear Mama's voice is to be in prayer, because your Mama's voice is your voice. So listen up if you're going to speak for Mama God. On prayer. One of the things they went and did is they were very sneaky about the way they went about this, because my point is that God never once asked us to pray. And they know that's to be true. There's no place where God says, I want you to pray. There's no 11th commandment, thou shalt pray. God just doesn't ask us to do it. There are times where people speak to him. There's times where he is responsive to what is being said, but it's never a prayer. Anytime somebody falls on their knees, clasps their hands, bows their head, first thing God says, get up. If you're in a relationship with him, get up. It's like if you're a father of a son or daughter and they're groveling at your feet and bowing down to you and that sort of thing, you say, good God, would you please get up?
He doesn't even want you on your knees to get a drink of water. When he goes in with, remember, he tells them, anybody that gets on their knees to get a drink of water, they are not going in with you. Yeah.
That's exactly right. God's opposed to it. And he actually says that that he's so opposed to prayer. He says the prayer of those who are not following my Torah instructions is such that it looks like they have dung on their faces. So, no, God's not looking for you to pray. And if you want to find a way to pray, then you can go over to the mother goddesses, and they will teach you all about how to pray. But be careful, because God says he's sending them to hell. That's probably not a good option for you, but it's a free will and all. You go and do it. You go and do what you want to do. So Yahweh is bringing the Shazak, the fiercest and most steadfast defenders of his covenant, to Mount Moriah at this time to celebrate the sacrifices of the bull and the goat, Yada and Elia, as we prepare Yisrael for their homecoming with Dod and with Yahweh. Now, this will be a time of intervention followed by evaluation, as the mortal remnant of Yisrael is not only tested on Teruah, and it is a test for them to determine which can be trusted to enter the garden on Sukkah, but also to assess which of these people will develop sufficiently over time to be trusted off the planet in dimensions exceeding the 3 that we are currently in now. It's dangerous out there. And so God's not going to take anyone off this planet that he can't trust. And it's our job to help them grow to the point where they're good enough listeners, responsive enough, engaged enough, observant enough, and mature enough, resilient enough that they can be trusted. So God's family at this time is going to be noted for including Yahuwah, Yehudim, I should say. We're going to have Yehudim and Goyim, making it inclusive of every ethnicity on earth. That was just what we read. It's all people. So everybody gets to be included in this family. It's Goyim and Yehudim. And it's particularly so for those exercising good judgment. So these are transformative words, no doubt, and serving as a life-changing revelation for those living at this time. This prophecy epitomizes the merit of working collaboratively in support of Nakar, this observant foreigner that Yahweh has deployed. And it affirms the simple truth that the will of God is to establish his covenant family. Over and over and over again. Stand firm in my covenant family. So God is trying to firmly establish his covenant so that we can enjoy and develop a productive relationship with God as his children. Our purpose is to intervene on behalf of those who want to be close to God, translating Yahweh's words from a language too few understand into the lingua franca of the world, and offering our God that what we're offering our God is your soul. Literally, here, God, take this one. I can vouch for this one. This one, it's passed the tests. And our goal is to deliver your soul safely to Yahweh. And not just safely to Yahweh, prepared.
Mm-hmm.
This is the purpose, prepared to meet Yahweh. Because when you show up before Yahweh, we want you comfortable naked, exposed. We want you, if God asks a question or makes a statement, we don't want you tripping on your tongue. It's a bad reflection on us. You said this one was trustworthy? No.
Yes.
Yeah, no. I want you scrubbed of religion and politics. I want you active, observant, thoughtful, responsive, and no problem making a mistake. You just don't prolong it, learn from it, and go on from there. So that's our job. Now, these prophetic writings prove conclusively that Yahweh is God. He has provided a depiction of what is common among those who are invited into his home, and God is celebrating his relationship with his children, showering his family with everlasting gifts. It reads, Yahweh, my upright one and foundation, who gathers and assembles yet again the scattered of Yisrael, these who engage and endure with God, announces in advance of it occurring, I will obtain, bring together, and assemble before him those collected and obtained by him. So 56:8. My guess is that in hearing that, now you understand why I said I think that the other comment was that Yahweh, those who have formed a relationship with Yahweh, who love his name, and who are the children of Hanakar, God wants to have them attend to the needs that he has so we get this done, support him. And I said, and you're right, Kevin, that supporting and working with Yahweh and supporting and working with the Nakar are there's very little distinction other than one's perspective. And this passage pretty much seals it for me, because God's speaking in first person and he doesn't refer to himself as him.
Right.
So we've got to keep that in mind. So God says, Yahweh, which is actually at this point, this is Yahshua speaking on behalf of Yahweh. So Yahweh, my upright one and foundation, who gathers and assembles yet again. So Yahweh has gathered his people together previously, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
They brought them back from Babylon. brought them back from Mitzrayim. So
Yeah.
first he brought them back from Mitzrayim. He brought them back from Babylon. He brought some of them back after the Holocaust and World War II into Israel.
If this is Teruah eccentric, then he's done so again in Shabuah, because this would be post Shabuah. So he had,
Well, yes, he would. Yeah, he is bringing and gathering and assembling his family on Shabuah, and he is preparing his kids for the family reunion on Teruah, and then he's celebrating the family reunion on Kippurim, so that we can all enter Sukkah on the Shabbat to celebrate the family reunion, right? And camp out together as a family. So YAHOWAH, who is gathering and assembling yet again.
Didn't say he ain't trying.
Yes, the scattered of Yisrael. But I think what he is saying here is that if we were just to get to the crux of it, is that on Teruah, God's going to bring, and he's got many prophecies regarding this. He's going to convest the world in those spiritual chariots, if you will, spiritual conveyance devices. And everyone that has the potential to benefit from the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah and be purged of the religiosity and be tested worthy of entering the garden for this 1,000-year opportunity. That he's going to bring those who have been scattered around the world of Yisrael into Jerusalem, into around the Temple Mount. And so I think that is the primary one of these. But, every time God speaks, there's many layers to it. And all of the things that you've said are potentially true. But I think it's more specifically what he is doing on the evening of Teruah. And this is God saying and announcing in advance of it occurring. And I will attain and bring together and assemble before him those collected and obtained by him. So that is saying that God is going to bring the night of Teruah, which is September 23rd of 2033. That evening, he's bringing before the Adamah Parah, this Nakar, all of the qualified individuals of Israel who can be spared from around the world. And they're there, so they're purged by the benefit of this sacrifice. So he's obtaining them for him so that they are there to benefit from the sacrifice. I think this is very different than what YAHOWAH did for his beloved son on Pesach. He didn't gather the remnant of Israel at that time because he wasn't ready for them, and they weren't ready for him. And so Dode suffered Pesach alone. And wouldn't have even mattered because he had to fulfill matzah alone.
Yep.
And he became the firstborn of firstborn children. The rest of the children would come later.
Yeah.
But now, as we have passed Shabuah and the covenant family has been brought to Shamayim and we're returned for this in preparation for this, God is saying that this is now the opportunity to come clean. And it would be useless for the sacrifice of the Adamah Parah to take place without Yisrael being gathered all around for a number of reasons. One is the specific way this works. Dode, as the Passover lamb, opened the doorway to life by fulfilling Pesach, by capitalizing on what he did. You don't have to be there. You don't have to go with him into Sheol to benefit from him removing our guilt. Lucky for us. But on Teruah, if you're going to benefit from it, you got to be there, because it is fulfilled consistent with Numbers 19 and particularly Numbers 5. And so it's the ash and the water that purge the remnant of Israel of their religiosity. So they're prepared for Dode's return. So you have to be there for that. There's no way to benefit without being there. And so God's saying, and this time I'm bringing the audience, so that the sacrifice isn't for naught. And we're in a different time period than with Dode. He fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, in year 33 CE, which is year 4000, you still have 2000 years. Now, in this case, you got 10 days.
Right.
So they really ought to be there, right? So he's bringing them in for the occasion because this is going to happen immediately. And we don't have time for a redo. We don't have time to, fumble around, and we'll think about it later. So this is the day that personally I've longed for the most to witness. And what we're going to have on this day also is that those who we have gathered unto Yahweh and into the covenant family are all going to be assembled before us. And we're going to get to see Yahweh's expression, whether it's on this day or 10 days thereafter on Yom Kippurim. We're going to see Yahweh's expression as he greets every new addition to his growing family. It's going to be really cool, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can you imagine with every person that has benefited from this, and Yahweh's going to have a moment with them, and we're all going to be there to witness it. We can all say, hey, that's really cool. Yeah, yeah. There's nothing better than knowing that you did something that makes another life eternal and wonderful and pleases God, pleases the King. That's a life well lived. So while this is going to occur and be marvelous to witness, there is another way to interpret this same prophecy, because Yahweh will, during the evening of Teruah, as I mentioned, gather every eligible Israelite on earth and bring them to Jerusalem so that they might benefit from the sacrifice of the Adam of Parah. And that being the case, God is sharing credit by revealing that his Nakar and Team Yah, the Sherish, will have made a contribution toward this ingathering through their witness. And this is because they will have spoken of this event several thousands of times by this point.
Mm-hmm.
And all the while, until this day is over, and Yahweh sends the worst of men into Sheol and incarcerates the rest of the rubbish, incinerates the rest of the rubbish, I should say, at the conclusion of Teruah. Well, there will still be some beasts that remain to be dealt with until the very end of this day. And they're going to be fixated, as they are and have been, on terminating life, especially within the foliage of God's designated tree. Every beast and animal of the country, and particularly these open environs, the broad and popular way, you will choose to come to devour and destroy every living thing in the thicket and in the foliage of that tree. Isaiah 56:9. Well, there are going to be some beasts. Hasatan's going to be there. His stooge is going to be there. We wonder if they'll have his Israeli-based cabinet as Donald Trump relocates from Washington, D.C. to Jerusalem. That'll happen in 2030. And here in 2033, we're going to have our showdown. And he will have a contingent. There will be MAGAs a many and Muslims a many that are going to be doing everything they can to devour and destroy every living thing. One of the things that became obvious to me as I read the Quran and studied it, and wrote these many books regarding the Quran, is that Allah hates people. He even hates Muslims. He hates everybody. He hates women.
Sure.
Even he hated Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
And so Islam is essentially genocidal, because Allah wants everybody to die. The 8th surah is really clear. There's only two types of Muslims: those who have died killing for Allah, and those who will die killing for Allah. And so he's hanging out this fanciful bargain of where if you kill for him and die, you get multiple virgins in paradise, which is, I mean, it would only fool a fool, but he's playing to fools. But all he wants you to do is kill for him. I mean, the first year of the Islamic era, the first day, first month, first week of the Islamic era is the Pledge of Aqaba. We pledge to wage war against all mankind. So it is a death cult because the purpose is to kill. The prophets depict Donald Trump as being a man who claims to come in peace, who will be exceedingly warlike and destructive. And that's what we're witnessing. And that's what's going to happen to the very end. And there's going to be world war and lots of people are going to die. And the Muslims and the Marxists and the MAGAs that converge on Israel at this time are going to be ruthless. And they will have as their primary object of disdain this tree of knowledge that has spoken up so strongly against them. I will have slightly more followers probably than I have on X currently, but I know these people because they come out of the woodwork to advance racism and anti-Semitism and all manner of stupidisms. So this is a warning. This will be the last hurrah of evil. So the conclusion of what will be the deadliest episode in human history, will transition this day to the most glorious celebration of life. It's going to be a wonderful time. And for that to occur, Satan and his minions must be throttled. And at this point, at least before the comprehensive purge of religion and politics, there will still be billions in league with the adversary. And far too many will remain ensnarled by religion, confused by conspiracy, misguided by politics. And leading the parade to Sheol will be a cast of characters so appalling to God that he will devote much of the next chapter to their repudiation. And what we're going to find is that while there are men and women who have been lured into this, 90% of the text is feminine singular. One exceedingly evil woman. And Yahweh introduces this exceedingly evil woman as a Anon, demonic, a sorceress. And that means to be Anon, by the way, means that you are telling everyone that you're not demon possessed. You're doing everything you can to deny your deal with the devil. Just as Donald Trump will, to the very end when he'll finally admit it, but he'll call the devil God. Satan never wants to be known as the devil. He never wants to be presented as a demon. He always wants to come across as if he were God. And so the mother goddess cult rallies around a mother goddess. And according to God, she's demon possessed. He calls her Anon. And then he goes on to say that she is Zona. Sometimes it's pronounced Zana. Zona is the more common Hebrew pronunciation now. The older version would be Zana, same 3 letters. It means she's a whore. She's feigning affection for influence, for rewards of various kinds. And this woman is the subject of everything God has to say over and over and over and over and over again. I've never experienced anything like this ever. And we're getting close to that. But when we finish the 56th chapter, which is just marvelous introduction because it sets the stage for all of this and the timing, we go to what I was trying to get at, which is that the Shavuot harvest is of souls who literally disappear. Their bodies disappear, their souls are gathered up to God in conjunction with the harvest, and the world is clueless as to where they have gone. And it describes where we go and what we find once we get there and how people will respond to this. But then as it transitions into a group of people led by a woman who is demonic and who is whorish, prostitute. It says that this woman is going to be agonizing over why she wasn't included. And therefore, what it tells us is that there's only one woman that's going to be in that, well, she and her contingency, but there's only one person who is going to actually know what Shabuah represented. It says specifically that she and her ilk were left behind. And it's the one person who's going to be agonizing over why. Why were we left behind? This was supposed to be ours.
Yeah.
It defines them as a singular group. And everything God says thereafter is obvious that it's depicted in the singular group. And what I was so surprised to see is that from my view, as I survey what they have done, and, it's irritating to see them pass themselves off as me and copy everything that I've taught them, and even my style of translating and my transliterations and all that sort of thing, and even logos and you name it. I mean, every way they could copy me, they have copied me, trying to pass themselves off as me. Their only way they can draw attention is to hashtag my name. And when they hashtag my name, their purpose is to condemn me, to deny everything that God has said, and to disparage YadaYahowah. And so God's not the least bit happy about that. He is stunningly disgusted and angry, and after rebuking them, dispatches them to hell, and then rebukes them some more. So it's quite the trip we're going to take as we move through this. So I'll just read this one last statement because it brings us to an interesting conclusion, and then we'll pick this up tomorrow. It says, "Those who are watchmen, assigned to be lookouts, they're blind. All of them are ignorant and opposed to Yada. Without understanding, without revelation, they're unaware, unable to teach, and thus clueless. They are universally contemptible, rife with emotion, akin to dumb dogs, incapable of intelligent speech. They are without the capacity to understand or the ability to prevail, and they will not succeed as they are utterly incompetent and unable to even bark, panting while dreaming and hallucinating, lying around smitten with their inactivity and their lack of awareness." 56:10. And so those overly emotional whores and malcontents have an intensely fierce soul, stubbornly self-willed, and they will never acknowledge that they have gone too far, never admitting that they are gluttonous and unrestrained, as they are insatiable, never satisfied. Those who are acting as if they were shepherds, clamoring for authorization, as if they were leaders and feeding the flock, are not Yada, because they are ignorant and irrational, devoid of understanding, neither perceiving nor comprehending, and thus lacking the capacity to make intelligent connections. All of them have turned to their own way, every person after their own ill-gotten gain and dishonest advantage, acting like a bunch of thieves, without exception or restraint, and to the very end, even to their demise. Isaiah 56:11. I don't suppose you'd want to trade that group for the group that we're in.
Hardly.
I like the group we're in.
Yeah, I'm good.
Too.
I'm good.
I'm planting.
Yeah, that's rough, rough language there.
Yes, sir.
God saying that you should have known better, and you're acting as if you're making a contribution, but you're not making a contribution to me or mine. You're working for yourselves, and you're out of your mind. So this isn't a generic claim here. This is saying those who claim that, they're watchmen, that they're shepherds, that they're feeding and nurturing the sheep, that they are observant, shamar Torah. They're blind. And they are. All of them, he says, not some of them, all of them. They're ignorant. Boy, you read what they write. I mean, every time they have written anything, you go and actually look at what God said, and it condemns them specifically.
Yes.
Everything they say is
Condemn
destroyed
themselves
by their own citations.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd
They're
have
just
to be blind to have had the truth in your hands for years. I mean, like
Yes.
some of these people were around for years. To have the truth
Years.
in your hand that long and then to throw it away.
right. And that's
You
why
got-
God's so pissed. I mean, God is really indignant at them because they had the truth in their hands and they did worse than throw it away. They're trying to destroy it for everybody else.
Yeah.
And from God's point of view, there's nothing you could do that's worse than that. And so this is the first opening salvo against them, and this is mild compared to what he has to say next. So we're over 2 hours on this program. That's probably all we should push everybody's indulgence for. Kevin, you've now done almost 5 hours with me today. Wow. So there's marriages that don't last that long,
Almost.
pal. Yeah, there's marriages that
Almost
don't
like
last
a real
that long.
radio guy. Yeah.
We are in it, man. We're in it to win it, as they say. And Kirk, this is twice in the same weekend, and I know that this is it's a lot of energy in the present circumstances. So,
That's right. Sylvia, give me another feel.
yeah, man, I'd love to see your smile and the fact that you're making it through this. And
Oh,
it was,
I'll be through
as Kevin said earlier, that through it all, your primary objective is to get back at it.
Well, yeah, I really do. I feel lousy because I'm so tired. But I'll get over it.
Yeah, I've been there too. I've sometimes my brain feel really withered, but for the most part, yeah, let's go. Let's do this again. I mean, if you look at the progress in this YAHOWAH blog, as we Facebook will send you a feed. This is what you were a year ago. You look at it and say, oh, we've come a long way. It's been good. And JB, you consider what we were saying and doing and how we were working on the YadaYahowah radio. Oh my goodness, all those years ago. And consider that to the level of this and what we've learned subsequently and in a position to share.
Oh yeah, this is vastly superior to Blog Talk Radio.
Vastly. If only we had bailed on Blog Talk Radio sooner rather than later. But I liked it because it was just so much easier to do. But you had no idea how much more fun and effective this is, and the opportunity of this is just so much greater. It's just that the wherewithal to do this well is so much more difficult. So you need to have a Kevin. You need to have a Rich, and without a Kevin and a Rich and a whole lot of equipment and a whole lot of know-how, you can't do this. And so it was really wonderful when YAHOWAH just said, all right, the marginal utility of one more book is not going to get it done. But I'll tell you what, now is the time to speak to my people. And what I didn't really recognize is all the way through this point, I love the written word. In fact, you probably all know that if somebody sent me a video, I said, could you just summarize it? I can read what you have to say in a fraction of the time that the video, and videos are impossible because they're difficult to verify. We've solved that because we actually put the text up in our videos, but videos are difficult to verify. And now here we are doing them. It was quite a reversal when YAHOWAH said, this is what I want you to do. But the difference was that everyone should know that if you're trying to motivate people to listen to you, to pay attention, that's why God says Shema even more than he says Shamar. Listen. Listening is a much more powerful form of communication, much more motivation. And so between the visual images here and the audio, this is actually a more effective means of reaching God's people than another book. The books are essential if you want to grow in your understanding, but this is the best way to reach people. And it's what people now prefer. But there is something that has happened in the last few years that changes the one dynamic where the written word was always superior to the spoken word. But that's no longer the case, which is that the written word was enduring. God said, I want you to write this down because the written word is enduring. It doesn't change. But the spoken word is now enduring. Anything we say on one of these live streams is forever. It is recorded. It is available. It is, you might as well have written it in stone when you've spoken it on a program like this, particularly one that is live streamed to about 12 different platforms. So now there's the integrity and endurance of the spoken word with the power of the spoken word together, and all backed up by the written word.
You know, the other upside is, especially for me, is I love to sit down and read, but with work, keeping up with the house, you know, car maintenance, everything else I got to do, I don't have time to sit down and read a lot. But I can listen to stuff while I'm working, while I'm driving.
Yes.
Yeah, that for me has been nice.
Yeah, and one of the beauties of this program, not only can you listen while you're working and while you're driving, you don't have to pick it up, all of it, all the time. You can play the same program back. I've listened to several programs many times, and every time you listen, you say, "Oh, yeah, that was really good. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's an important point." It's why God tells us the same story over and over again. Is that's how we learn. So the ability to repeat it. Most evenings, I will play these programs that we have done, and I will listen to them. And that's something that I can tell you, when I did the radio and in TV previously for, what was it, 15 years, I never could. I could never listen to my own voice or the program. I was always bothered by all of the flaws. This is different. The sincerity of this, the way it comes across, I can listen to these programs, and I'm actually pleased with what we're achieving. I like this format that we have, and you can tell that this is something that God is behind, and that He wants this done, and it's being done His way, and it's absolutely working. And well, another example would be, well, since we are opposed to Christianity and Islam and Judaism, we're opposed to conspiracies. We're opposed to both left and right-wing politics, MAGAs and Marxists. That would mean that we don't have much of an audience. We're opposed to racism. We're opposed to anti-Semitism. Those things would, collectively, that narrows the audience to about 5% of the human race, if that. And then we're opposed to dumbing it down. We're saying you're either going to think this through or you're not worth even talking to. So we're telling everybody who's religious and political to go away, conspiratorial to go away, who's racist and anti-Semitic to go away. And if you just want to be lazy and dumb, you need to go away too. So that leaves you with about 1% of humanity.
1 in a million.
Yeah. So when you realize that, we're never going to have a lot of subscribers or followers. But what we do have is a lot of listens. Not only the number of people, but the hours and hours, thousands upon thousands of hours of people listening to this and benefiting from it. That part is really extraordinary. And so we know we're teaching and reinforcing Yahowah's family, and we're reaching other people, and that we're leaving a legacy behind. And I'm convinced that this is the primary way that we're going to educate and teach and help the remnant who become part of Sukkah going forward, so they can live anywhere around the world. And we teach them in this manner. It's a very effective way, particularly when you have the audio reinforcing the written word of the books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned repetition. Way back in the day when I first found YadaYahowah, you had an audiobook version of it. And
yes,
at that time, I was a delivery driver. I worked at a pizza restaurant, so I was in my car all the time. I had downloaded those, and I listened to them over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably listened to them 100 times in the first year,
Oh, my.
just because, yeah, my mind would start going off and thinking about something, and then I'd miss something. So the next time I catch something new, and I said, repetition is good.
Yeah, it's and it is the way we transfer information from short-term to long-term memory.
Mm-hmm.
And the advantage of you hearing something, but you don't possess it, is pretty minimal. But once it's in your long-term memory and you can access it, then you're empowered by it. And it literally becomes part of you. It's when God writes his Torah inside of us, his teaching and gardens. It's going to be part of the fabric of our lives. And so that's the advantage of repeating, is it goes from short-term memory to long-term memory, and you own it. Here, most of us, yourself excluded, JB, we're senior citizens, or they would say seasoned citizens. And yet the mind is exceedingly elastic with all of these files that God has managed to store in our minds so that they're accessible and we can make the connections needed to advance understanding. All right, Rich, it seems like you have a very happy puppy in your lap that's enjoying the last vestiges of this program, but we are at 2.5 hours. So I'm going to say good night. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Love to be dealing with what is communicated by Yahweh through the great prophet Yashayah, and we will continue with this message tomorrow. Thank you all, gentlemen, for participating.
Bye, y'all.
Night.
Night.